Slum 1200 GGI mob shit, and I'm back. So on this episode of Certified Steppers Podcast, man, we're gonna be talking about Lovelle Mixon. You know what I'm saying? Long live Lovelle Mixon. You feel me? And long live the 4 officers that lost their life that day. You know what I'm saying? May the peace, mercy, and blessings of the Creator be with everybody affected by that situation. All families, all parties involved. So in 2009,
this is video taken just a little while ago from Sky 7. The last 2 officers arrived here at Highland at around 4 o'clock. They were rushed away from the 73rd and Hillside scene in a SWAT car. When they were
actors, we can make you believe we know what we're doing, when in fact, we do not. Whoops, I have no idea what these buttons do.
I've never driven a stick in my life. Let my hardest roll yet.
Small business owner, because I have no idea what I'm doing.
Well, the question, were mistakes made in what is the deadliest day ever for the Oakland Police Department? That is the question now. Investigators are trying to answer in the wake of that shootout that left 3 Oakland police officers dead and a 4th brain dead. KCRA3's Mike Tassell has more on what investigators are likely looking into. Mike.
Tonight, some SWAT team training experts are giving KCRA3 some insight into what those investigators are looking at right now. And one of them adds that what investigators find will, quote, absolutely lead to training changes not only in California, but likely nationwide. Less than 48 hours after this deadly shootout, a shootout that killed or critically wounded 4 Oakland police officers, state law enforcement training experts are acknowledging.
Obviously, things did go wrong when you have 4 fallen heroes.
So what went wrong? After all, the state sets guidelines for proper SWAT team safety and training like this training. Well, today, the state's Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training, as well as Sacramento SWAT Commander, stressed it is too early to answer that question. But with so many deaths, they added, the scrutiny of this incident will be intense.
I could almost guarantee you that you'll see some change of some sorts.
The 2 key issues will be, number 1, how did the 2 officers act during the initial traffic stop in which they were shot and killed? And number 2, what happened when SWAT officers confronted the suspect at this apartment?
a man would lose his life, 4 other police officers would lose their life. And the man would go by the name of Lovelle Mixon. Some say he was a neighborhood hero. Some say he was actually a child rapist and a murderer. But I'm kind of like reading up on the story, and so I'm reading up on the story, and I actually don't see where or how he became a child rapist. You feel me? It said he robbed and raped 2 women the day before the actual shooting with the police officers.
It was a routine traffic stop. For all intents and purposes, that's what it looks like.
But what happened next was anything but routine. Police say Mixon opened fire on the officers, leaving one of them dead. The suspect then fled on foot and barricaded himself in an apartment building. Authorities found him following a manhunt with help from an anonymous tip. Police say Mixon fired with an assault rifle at SWAT team members trying to arrest him, killing 2. Other officers returned fire, killing Mixon. Police are not saying much about the suspect, but they do say he has a record.
Oakland resident, 27 years old. He was on parole, and he had a warrant out for his arrest for violating that parole. And he was on parole for assault with a deadly weapon.
Dozens of Oakland police officers have gathered at a hospital where one officer died and another is struggling to survive.
We will come together as a community as we sort these matters out and attempt to heal in the aftermath of this incredible, shocking, and horrifying and tragic set of events.
The incident has threatened to raise tensions between the police and the Oakland community. Residents rioted earlier this year after the fatal shooting of an unarmed man by a transit officer. Sophia Manos, The Associated Press.
As I'm reading the story, it says on March 21st, 2009 at 1:08 p.m., PDT Mixon was pulled over in a routine traffic stop while driving a 1995 Buick sedan. 2 motorcycle officers, Officer John Hedge and Sergeant Mark Donican, stopped him for a violation on a traffic stop on 74th Avenue and MacArthur Boulevard in East Oakland, 1 block from East Mount Town Center and the Oakland Police Department substation. After reviewing Mixon's driver's license, Sergeant Donican became suspicious that it was a fake license and signaled to his partner, Officer Hedge, to arrest Mixon. Mixon leaned out of the vehicle's side window and opened fire with a semi-automatic pistol without warning, shooting both officers twice. After the officers collapsed, he got out of the car, approached them, and fired execution style directly into the officer's back. He briefly stood over the bodies before fleeing on foot.
Less than 48 hours after this deadly shootout, a shootout that killed or critically wounded 4 Oakland police officers, state law enforcement training experts are acknowledging.
Obviously, things did go wrong when you have 4 fallen heroes.
Witnesses report Mixon as having fired 6 shots. Neither officer returned fire. Witnesses said Mixon fled westward into the surrounding neighborhood on 74th Avenue southbound. By the time the ambulance arrived, Sergeant Dunnigan had died, and Officer Hedge was found to be mortally wounded, having been shot behind the left ear.
Declared John Hedge brain dead, and his father says they're going to make the decision when to have him removed so his organs can be donated. The 3 other officers died Saturday during a shootout with parolee Lovelle Mixon. They were officers Mark Dunnigan, Evan Romans, and Daniel Sakai. 26-year-old Lovelle Mixon died in that shootout as well. And as Oakland police investigate what happened, now the Attorney General is questioning the state's parole system.
It's the same people going in and out, but it is not an integrated system to cope with what in many cases are very troubled, very dangerous, and very angry individuals.
Mixon family members were aware of his criminal activity. He was a convicted felon, wanted on a no-bail warrant for a parole violation, according to his cousin. Mixon had recently purchased a handgun, illegal for a felon on parole, as well as the Buick he had been driving when stopped. Mixon was talking with his uncle on his cell phone when stopped, and he said he would call back. But he was probably thinking about the piece he had in the car, said his cousin, Curtis Mixon, 38. He wasn't about to go back to jail.
Just to know, I don't even know what he was thinking. I keep playing through my mind. What was he thinking?
Latressa Gary's cousin, Lovelle Mixon, is accused of opening fire on officers during a traffic stop in Oakland. She doesn't condone it, but she believes that the second incident involving the SWAT team could have been handled differently.
They went in that house under anger, you know, and basically the second shooting, they was just as much as murderers than Lovelle. Because they went in there knowing that they were trying to kill that man.
According to family members, Mixon was stressed he could not find work because he was a convicted felon. They also say Mixon's parole agent in Oakland made it hard for Mixon to check in. Mixon missed a scheduled appointment and was considered a parolee at large.
My cousin was failed too.
Mixon's extensive rap sheet includes 6 years in state prison for assault with a firearm during an armed robbery. Mixon was a murder suspect but was cleared due to a lack of evidence. He also served 9 more months in state prison for parole violations including possession of drug paraphernalia, ID theft, forgery, fraud, attempted grand theft, and receiving stolen property in grand theft. Mixon was released on parole in 2007, but was back in prison less than 1 year later.
So, this situation would spark it would spark a whole bunch of shit in Oakland at this time. Like, I'm talking about it was going down. It would have mad riots, protests, like all type of stuff. Like,
you don't agree that you shouldn't wear that fucking uniform? Are you kidding?
The region has seen in years. Police were calm right now in Oakland, California, went ignored as anger boiled over at a controversial police shooting.
Rioters busted windows, set fires, and pounced on police cars.
And it would have a lot of people in that community, in the communities that he was from, taking up for him, protesting for him, marching for him, calling him a hero, a lot of different things.
It's real talk right here, man. He gonna be missed. He ain't going nowhere, man. Lovelle, Mixon, man. That's what we screaming out here, man.
East Oakland King. East Oakland King. 82nd and Burke. That's my cousin, man. Oakland police always messing with somebody. That's what I got to say. They always want to shoot. They always want to shoot somebody.
We're here today to do no different than what you saw yesterday, as they paid
their respect for their slain comrades. We pay respect for a young brother who we felt symbolized the resistance of African people who are terrorized daily by the police force, which are an occupying army in the African community. And not just here in Oakland, but all throughout this country, you see every day black people are dying at the hands of the police. Oscar Grant was no blip on the radar screen. Only thing that made Oscar Grant what it was caught on video. So we look at Lovelle Mixon, who was not political, who is not an activist, but who took the stand that we hope people take in terms of resistance to a very vicious, a very brutal colonial system where the police are the first arm of the state, and that the police do not represent anything good in the African community. That's a historical fact. I don't make that up, and that's the reality that we deal with. So again, Lovelle represented that, and we're here to pay respect for a brother who we think took a very righteous stand in the face of all kinds of terror that comes down in our community at the hands of the police.
Must go! Must go! Must go!
The march in itself is a symbol to organize people and let people know that there's another side of the coin. There's a voice out here. This is the voice of the slave. What you heard yesterday was the voice of the slave master. The reality is we're a colonial people who are oppressed, and we want economic development and social justice is what we demand.
He's a true hero, a soldier. A lot of people wouldn't come and say, oh, he was a fool for killing them police because they were scared to speak out, but my cousin went out like a boss. A true boss, a real black man, not scared. We send our condolences. Don't think we are monsters. Don't make him out to be a monster, because we not like that.
I am. Power concedes the power, and what we're about with the Hura movement is trying to organize for black power, just like what we saw here in the 60s with the Black Panther Party.
We are doing a vigil here in the black community for our black beloved brother, Lovelle Mixon.
The group of about 40 marched down MacArthur Boulevard, past the two sites where Lovelle Mixon killed 4 Oakland police officers before police killed him.
Good dude.
Demonstrators here say Mixon was fighting back against what they see as an oppressive police force.
I don't condone what he did, but karma comes around. What goes around comes around.
I think coming together as a community and actually putting our ideas together and brainstorming.
Others say it's time to end what has become a culture of us against them.
We need to learn how to be able to work together as one, instead of us always feeling like, okay, well, I can't talk to them because he's a cop, or I can't talk to her because she's a city official, or I can't talk to that young lady or that young man because they don't know what they're talking about. They're not intelligent enough to really hold a conversation, and it's not always like that.
The small turnout at today's demonstration reflected the overall community's intolerance of Mixon's actions. But the incident has created a strong desire to improve relations between the police and the community.
By there being so much racial tension and things like that in California, and the police really taking advantage of their situation in that area and abusing the people, the pot finally had them overballed. You feel me? Everything finally had them rose to the top and came out the pot. And that was the result, you feel me? Like, I guess the people hadn't just had enough, you feel me?
Like Malcolm X would say, it's the chickens coming home to roost, you know what I'm saying? You gotta live in the bed that you created.
See how they standing? You supposed to have a chat right now, pointing their way. To go out like that, he was a straight up soldier. His mama didn't raise no punk.
Got free! I don't have no weapons on me, and what they do, put 30 bullets in his body. Fuck the pig.
Then they handcuffed me like this. Then they handcuffed my wrists to my ankles and start kicking me all up in here, right?
Well, don't forget a whole list of names of black men being murdered by OPD. While you're crying and boo-hooing, remember how they slaughtered your brother.
We're very clear that there were some racial overtones took place in this case in terms of Peroni's comments toward Oscar Grant and making reference to bitch-ass nigger. That certainly has a racial overtone to it.
And of course the police been at jail a long time. And the only thing we can do is stand up and fight it.
It's just really a shame that I gotta fight a case 8 months that I'm completely innocent of, and they know that I'm innocent of.
The idea of the judge stating on the record that it borders on recklessness for JR to stand up for his rights and defend himself when he's not guilty shows what kind of justice people can expect from this system that I believe is criminal for its injustice. We've just seen that today.
Had police crimes, police brutality been dealt with in Oakland, that story would have ended very differently.
And it's gonna be nigga, what they call that state of emergency. Oh yeah, Oakland, state of emergency. Oh yeah.
And it's like, we see this all the time. Like, you might have somebody being portrayed as a certain thing, from the media standpoint, but in the neighborhoods, he might be portrayed as something totally different from what they saying. So it's always two sides to a story. You feel me? I'm not saying that what he done was right, but I can't really say that it was wrong, because I wasn't living in Oakland and I don't know the things that these people was going through in Oakland dealing with these officers. You feel me?
We live a life of fear, and we want them to be afraid tonight. We want them to understand we will mobilize.
I think that when we look at what happened with Lovelle, it was something that, you can look at scientifically and know that something would give sooner and later. You don't know what the situation would be. You didn't know that 4 cops would get killed by this guy or anything like that, but you know that it's going to come to a head sooner or later. Oakland has a history of things happening by the police. 40 years. For the straight 40 years, at least 5 or more Africans be murdered by the police every year. Lovelle Mixon represented resistance. I can't speak if people looked at him as a hero. I know people looked at him as somebody that represented something they probably wish they would have done. The family really felt demoralized behind how the media portrayed him as a rapist, as a cop killer, and all these negative things that they've attached to him. Lovelle was a human being. He was a husband. He was a father, just like these cops were portrayed. People might look at these cops as good fathers and good community folks and things like that in their neighborhoods, and they might be all that. But when they put on that uniform and come in the African community, they are an occupying colonial army, and they do terrible things in the black community.
Officers aren't out there to go out there and try to, shoot their guns off. That's not what we're here to do. And it's a very traumatic situation for everyone involved in an officer-involved shooting. For the officers, for the department, for the families, and for the community. It's unfortunate that instead of the community or those certain groups coming out and trying to support us or give us ideas or solutions, that they feel that they have to go against us and, call someone that is a killer a hero. This person didn't kill 4 police officers. He actually sexually assaulted women, and he was pretty brutal. There is crime in Oakland. There's no doubt about it. And what are these groups doing to help that? Criticizing the Oakland Police Department is not helping that.
It was bad all the way around the board because nobody won. Lovelle Mixon lost his life. 4 police officers lost their life. And I'm quite sure countless people were injured and hurt all through that ordeal. You feel me? And I know Oscar Grant just got unalived by the police officers out there in Berkeley, Fruitvale, on a BART train. You feel me? I actually rode on that train before, but who's to say that ain't have something to do with it? You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes people just have enough where everybody have a breaking point. You feel me? But man, it would be a standoff. After he unalived the first 2 officers, he would flee on foot.
Oakland police officer gravely wounded in a weekend shootout has died. John Heege had been declared brain dead on Sunday, but remained on life support so his organs could be harvested. Alameda County medical officials say Heege's heart, liver, and kidneys were removed on Monday evening. The 41-year-old police officer and his partner, both on motorcycle patrol, were gunned down when they pulled over Lovelle Mixon, a man with an extensive criminal background. Heege was taken to this hospital with a severe brain injury. His partner, Sergeant Mark Dunnican, was pronounced dead. Mixon managed to escape the crime scene on foot and ended up at this apartment building. Authorities say he killed 2 more officers when the city's SWAT team stormed his hideout. Mixon was also fatally shot. The day before the deadly encounters, Oakland investigators had gotten evidence possibly linking the 26-year-old suspect to a February rape. According to California prison officials, There was also a warrant out for his arrest because he missed a mandatory meeting with his parole officer. Mixon's family members say he had been upset that he was unable to find work, and he felt his parole officer was not helping him. A public memorial service for the dead police officers is scheduled for Friday. Ross Simpson, The Associated Press.
You don't have time to think about, hey, can I shoot or can I not shoot? It's something that you have to train for, you have to be prepared to do mentally, and the mental state is critical in this.
He definitely wasn't going back to jail at all. So y'all get in that comment section, man. Hit that like button. Make sure the notifications turned on. And stay plugged. Slum 1200 GGI.